It's Super Tuesday, February 5th. I'm Natali Del Conte, and this is Loaded. AT&T is hiking prices of its DSL plans by $5 across the board. AT&T told the Associated Press that they would do this to, quote, better reflect the value of the service, which means they haven't necessarily come into additional costs of offering the service. They've just decided they want to hike prices. I find this interesting, especially because I was just reading the National Telecom and Information Administration's latest report called Network Nation, Broadband in America 2007. In a nutshell, it says that the Bush administration has made great strides at ensuring that broadband is cheaper and more affordable than ever in order to bridge the digital divide. $5 is a significant increase. It's between 15 and 20% more than AT&T's current prices, so maybe the NTIA shouldn't be so congratulatory in its reports just yet. There's a sushi scare here in Manhattan that has to do with mercury levels in tuna. Nevertheless, the Loaded crew decided to take a risk in order to test out a new restaurant in the Chrysler Building that lets you order electronically. Sake Sushi is a popular chain in Asia that broke ground on its first U.S. restaurant this week. The restaurant lets customers order their meals using flat-screen computers at each table. Diners use a Windows-based program to communicate with the kitchen. Once an order is made, the food is brought out on the double.
Customers seem to have gone crazy with it so far since we've opened about 1.5 weeks ago.
We asked why the software is controlled with a mouse instead of a touchscreen interface.
Oh, because people are just eating. We just don't want people to be touching the screen off and on.
Still, a mouse can carry germs as well, so we asked how often the mouse at each table is cleaned.
We sanitize it 3 times a day.
I tend to be a bit of a germ freak, so I think that they should clean the mouse between every customer. That's not to say I wouldn't go back, I definitely would, but next time I'll bring a 409 wipey with me just to be safe. Bad news for the ladies of tech. A survey from Dice.com indicates that women in technology jobs make 12% less than their male counterparts. Dice found that salaries for men increased by 2.4% in 2007, while salaries for women stayed flat. I once read a study that said most women don't negotiate their salaries, which accounts for up to $10 billion per year just left on the table here in the US. So gals, time to march into your boss's office and ask for a raise. Google's web apps got some new features today. The first one is Google Apps Team Edition, which lets you network within your school or workplace. You sign up with your work or school address, and Google looks for other members with the same email domain. Google Spreadsheets added a Forms option, allowing other people to input data within your spreadsheet without ever having to open it. Forms creates an email that the recipient can use to alter data. For instance, you can see here my Thanksgiving shopping list from last year. I can send it to my mom, who absolutely cannot use Google Docs to save her life. With Forms, she can respond in an email about how many sticks of butter she needs for her rolls, and that number will automatically update in my document. Hopefully you have better uses of this feature, but this is actually one that I will use. I'm Natali Del Conte with CNET TV, and you've just been loaded.
Joining us with their thoughts on this, I got Dennis Neal with me, also Natali Del Conte, who's senior editor at CNET.com, and industry analyst Ben Schachter from UBS. Natali, you call it casual gaming. That's sort of becoming a growth area for the industry, isn't it?
It really is, and we're seeing what's surprising in this industry is that women want to play games just as much as men do. In fact, even more so. Almost 2/3 of the people who are playing casual games are not young teenage boys. They're actually the soccer moms who want to play.
Give me a for instance. What kind of game are we talking about? I mean, the Wii, I guess, is a good example of that, right?
The Wii's not necessarily a casual game, although it has casual games. The Wii is still a game console. We're talking about things that you can find in your browser. So this is people playing something like Samurai Sudoku in Internet Explorer. So it's a free game. You just go on a website and you can play. And it's more numbers. It's like solitaire rather than moving a guy around and dying or killing other people. The New York Times reports that UPS is saving gas and money by limiting the number of left turns that their drivers make. UPS has a software called Package Flow that routes out the driver's day with as few left-hand turns as possible so that the drivers don't just sit idly wasting time and gas waiting for oncoming traffic to clear. Using this software, UPS shaved 28.5 million miles off of its routes, resulting in roughly 3 million fewer gallons of gas used and 31,000 fewer metric tons of carbon emissions from the company's 95,000 trucks. This is so cool. I'm going to start mapping out my day like this. I think it should be a standard option on all GPS devices. Ticketmaster has signed a deal with the National Football League to be the official site for ticket resale. Ticketmaster will launch a site next year where fans can resell tickets that they've already purchased the way they do now on StubHub. Ticketmaster already does this for 18 pro football teams, and the deal will just give them the rest of the league. StubHub is the official site for Major League Baseball, so this Ticketmaster deal is obviously an affront to StubHub since they do already have the market cornered on ticket resale. The famous Last Supper painting by Leonardo da Vinci can now be seen online in minute detail at the URL seen here on the screen. The painting was photographed by Nikon and made available online by an Italian web company called D. Agostini. So now anyone with a broadband connection can visit the painting and examine and scrutinize it detail by detail. The file size is over 16 billion pixels. It was generated with a color depth of 16-bit, which is twice that of conventional digital images. The image itself is over 96 gigabytes on disk. A company called HAL 9000 had to design safe lighting techniques by which to photograph the piece because it's so old and fragile that you can't just set up normal studio lights around it. Nikon photographed the painting with a Nikon D2 XS and a 600mm lens, and AMD custom-built a quad-core processor in order to electronically stitch together 1,677 digital images of 73 megabytes each. This is a very cool project. Make sure you check it out yourself. There's a link in the show notes. I'm Natali Del Conte, and that was your Tech Extra.